Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a little while since I've done a commentary, but hopefully that shall not hinder the quality of these videos. But with that said, today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're spicing it up a bit. In this video, I'm going to take you around Velen, and we're going to look at some interesting locations, either interesting for their backstory, for their visuals, or simply because I like them and I optimistically hope that you will like them too. And just a heads up, if you're interested, at the end of the video there will be a little update on what's been going on with me and the channel and everything else. Firstly, we're looking at an abandoned fortress named Lan Rock. This is located in the region of Crow's Perch, which is obviously home to the Bloody Baron, for example. It's a relatively unique location due to the drawbridge that spans over the river below, and that river being the Pontar, one of the most famous waterways in the Northern Kingdoms. When you first encounter this place, you'll find that the bridge is unusable, which forces you to jump into the waters below and swim through channels and passageways underneath the fortress itself. From there on, you have to fight off various different drowners and work your way up into the inside of the fort until facing a wyvern that has made its nest at the very top. It's said that this location was once used by smugglers to load and unload their cargo, likely taking it then to the docks at Novigrad. In our own history of the real world, smuggling was often funded by investors who wanted to smuggle goods that were likely heavily taxed by the government. More often than not, the coastlines were where these cargo ships landed, along with lesser-known towns and ports which were not as heavily monitored as main cities would be, meaning that a tiny fort like this is basically ideal to unload illegal cargo or do any kind of shifty business that you want no one else to see the eyes of our pirates and stuff. I don't know why I did that. This next location is more of just an interesting detail than it is an actual place. Inside of the game you can come across a lot of whale skeletons. You'll find these dotted throughout Velen, Skellige, and even other worlds. However, you can also find a beached whale, one that has been washed up and died on shore, either due to natural causes or was caught in the crossfire of a battle. Since this massive creature can be found in a location known as the Coast of Rex, it may very well have died during a storm or a ship skirmish. This area is now swarming with pirates and cutthroats, living amongst the wrecks of the old boats, robbing and stealing from any passing travellers. But it's a nice detail to see, since it's something that very likely could have happened if there had been massive ship battles just off the coast. The ferry station is located in Grey Rocks, and when you first encounter this area, you'll find it overrun with all manner of monster. But when those said monsters are dealt with, a group of Nilfgaardian soldiers will appear and take over the nearby watchtower. They will then build fortifications around it, made from the nearby trees and constructed as a rough defense against any who might try to take it back. It's a nice detail to show how the world changes and is impacted. But something I always found a little more interesting was the Nilfgaardian boat that is docked at the ferry station. It is not really the most common thing to see inside of the game, and it's a really interesting feature to show the Nilfgaardians using the river to their full advantage. They might be bringing up supplies or maybe reinforcements of troops to the front lines, because obviously if this was a real situation, things like that would be happening, and it's just nice that someone thought about that as well. This place has always been one of those really interesting locations for me because it's part of the history to the world. It shows what came before the humans and what was once there and what was a part of the land long before the current state of the games. These ruins are what remain of an elven palace, once a beautiful structure which was no doubt the centre of many gatherings and perhaps even social occasions. In fact, before it crumbled into disorder and became abandoned in the forest, it was known to once house the renowned artist Gian Lorenzo's workshop. His sculptures now command ridiculous prices at auction, making these ruins a frequent target for plunderers and treasure seekers. I've always loved these little details in video games and movies because creating history to a place that doesn't exist always brings in another layer of life to the entire world. It's what helps build a believable fiction because you're no longer just looking at what's right there in front of you, but you're also looking into the past and into the history of this entire world that isn't even real. This is probably one of the more well-known landmarks in the video, but it's such a beautiful place that I honestly couldn't help but mention it. You've no doubt seen this area before. This is the tower that Ciri and the Bloody Baron are at when they encounter the cockatrice. But you probably don't know that it's actually one of the few places that has a little story behind it, and what I'm about to read is straight from the description you can find in-game. Legend has it, a beleaguered traveller once stood at this tower's gates. He begged shelter for the night, claiming he'd been injured, but the Baron living inside was afraid the traveller was a spy, and sent him away. Little did he know the traveller was a powerful mage, who cast a curse on the tower, its inhospitable owner, and all who dwelled with him. Soon thereafter the Baron and all his retinue died in mysterious circumstances, and the tower fell into ruin. And this little story, in my opinion, is paying homage to a lot of the old fairy tales from the Brothers Grimm, and strangely enough, Beauty and the Beast, if you know anything about the story in the original tale, because many of these tales would have these kind of moral twists, where basically they say if you're not a good person, bad things will happen to you. So as promised, I'm going to quickly explain kind of what's been going on. I've been very busy with life in general and personal work and helping others with work, and it's been pretty hectic, but the next episode of Hearts of Stone will be out soon. It's just the episodes can take a lot longer to work on depending on what part of the game they're in, because some parts of the game has more gameplay and others have more cutscenes, and some episodes are just going to naturally take longer to make because I try to add in some sound effects and think of like interesting transitions from scene to scene, and just to make it more interesting to watch every time you watch a new episode, because it's a really fun thing to try and do. And I'm still figuring out the fight scenes and trying to make sure everything blends together properly, because you have to have one person controlling Geralt, and then I have to be filming all the scenes and trying to follow the camera, the player movements, as long as keeping the camera movements interesting, and it's quite messy. But I also just want to say thank you to everyone supporting me on Patreon, and I apologise for the lack of videos, but I will make up for it eventually. And if you can all just please support these videos as much as possible by liking them or leaving a comment and sharing it around, it really does help. And I'll be making some more videos like this too, so if anyone has any locations they want to see, then please leave a comment and let me know. But as always, thank you so much for watching everyone, and until the next one, you're going to have a really, really wonderful day. Of Monsters and Men, Alligator.